Endeavor Catalyst is a co-investment fund affiliated with Endeavor Global that backs high-growth companies led by Endeavor entrepreneurs. The fund focuses on supporting founders from underserved markets globally and aims to generate returns that help fund Endeavor's operations worldwide. Joining me now to share more about Endeavor Catalyst is its managing partner, Alan Taylor. Alan, welcome to the New York Stock Exchange.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So first, what is Endeavor Catalyst?
So Endeavor Catalyst is the global co-investment fund of Endeavor. Endeavor is a nonprofit organization that's been around for almost 30 years that supports, mentors, coaches, and helps entrepreneurs in emerging and underserved markets around the world. And about 12 years ago, we set up our own venture capital fund to invest in those very same entrepreneurs.
And what do you look for in an entrepreneur?
We look for radical self-belief, right? Entrepreneurs who really believe in their idea and what they're doing. We look for intellectual curiosity, right? People who don't think they know all the answers, so they're actually interested in mentorship and being part of a community. And we look for resilience, right? This quality that, the best entrepreneurs really are tremendously hardworking, tremendously determined to build what they're doing. When we bring a company and an entrepreneur into the Endeavor network, we actually are evaluating the entrepreneur, the business, and the timing, right? So it's the right moment for them to really become part of Endeavor.
All right, and many of your entrepreneurs that I spoke with talked about the community element, talking and connecting with other entrepreneurs who are having the same experiences as them. How important is community when you're launching a business solo?
Oh, it's super important. In fact, Endeavor Catalyst is a fund. But Endeavor is much bigger than a fund, right? Endeavor is this global network of trust, of, by, and for entrepreneurs, where, we really only select into the network kind of the top 1% of founders from all these different markets and countries around the world. But what they tell us every single year is that the number one value of being a part of Endeavor is the peer network. It is the community. It is the idea that you're building the fastest growing, biggest company in Poland or in Indonesia, but you don't really have anybody to talk to in your home market anymore. And so being part of this global network is actually really important to their own growth.
Okay, so you've personally led Endeavor Catalyst since it launched in 2012. What has that journey been like?
Yeah, it's been fascinating, right? When we first set up the fund, we knew we had great entrepreneurs, but we weren't actually sure, would they also want Endeavor as an investor? And frankly, would the other investors let us in, right? We sort of created this co-investment model. We made 5 investments in that first year in 2012, kind of testing the market. Actually, the first one was in a business called Globant that grew up to be an NYSE listed company, right? So we had one investment, one IPO. But we've really evolved since then to do a lot more investing, right? Today, we'll actually close 2025 with 50 investments for the year. So you can think of that's 10x from where we started. And it's actually about one investment per week somewhere in the world.
Are a lot of these companies looking to go public? Is that their ultimate goal?
Look, once they take on outside capital from venture or growth equity funds, of course, they need to find liquidity for that capital. So IPO is one of those paths for sure. We have a number of businesses who are eyeing the New York Stock Exchange or being a public company. But it's important to emphasize, we also do exit businesses through acquisition and through secondary sales.
All right, and Endeavor was founded on the idea that great entrepreneurs can come from anywhere. Can you tell us more about that mission?
For sure. I mean, our fundamental belief is that talent, like the raw entrepreneurial talent, is everywhere, right? And innovation really can come from anywhere. And so that's why we actually believe in this idea that the future is elsewhere, right? So we talk a lot and hear a lot about what's happening in California or what's happening in New York City or maybe what's happening in China. But we believe the future is being built elsewhere. It's being built in Latin America, in Africa, in the Middle East, and really all across the world. It's a fundamental belief built into Endeavor's mission.
Speaking of these global markets, what is one market that you think people should really be paying attention to?
So if you're a watcher of the public stock markets, I really do think you should pay more attention to Brazil and Latin America, because businesses like Nubank, already listed here, have paved the way for a number of others that are coming. If you're focused on kind of earlier stage investing, venture capital, I spend a lot of time talking to the guys in Silicon Valley about why they should be looking at markets like Nigeria and Egypt or even Pakistan, because this is where the next really big companies are going to come from.
We spoke about those regions. What do you see for them for places like Pakistan?
Oh, it's just totally mispriced, right? There's a huge geographic arbitrage or sort of geographic alpha because the talent is world class. They have access to the technology. They can build amazing businesses. Pakistan is the fifth most populous country in the world, right? 220 million people, and yet almost no private capital, right? That's one way to think about what Endeavor's looking at. The markets we cover are 60% of the world's people. They're 40% of the world's GDP, including where most of the growth is coming from. But it's only 8% of the world's private capital, right? And therefore, there's just a huge opportunity to be an investor in these places.
Are you looking at Endeavor Catalyst in entrepreneurs in those areas?
Exclusively, yeah. In fact, our fund is set up to invest only in Endeavor entrepreneurs. And so that means, not businesses in Silicon Valley and New York, but specifically in these regions around the world, right? We launched in Pakistan a couple of years ago. We've made our first investment there. We've made more than 10 investments in Egypt, which I mentioned. We actually have not fully publicly closed and announced yet, but we are making our first investments in Ukraine, right, which is a new market for Endeavor.
So many of your entrepreneurs that I spoke with, when I asked them that final question, why are you an Endeavor entrepreneur? People could not stop raving about it. They were glowing. What impact do you think that your support, mentorship, and services have had on these founders who might not have those opportunities?
Look, I run a venture capital fund, right? So at the end of the day, the actual function of the job is giving them a few $1 million to help their company grow. But Endeavor is about something much bigger than that. In fact, we talk about it as helping these guys to scale their companies and scale themselves as leaders, as CEOs, as human beings, right? And so I think the reason you get that amazing positive reaction from people is we're helping them on this journey, not just to build $1 billion or $10 billion company. We're helping them become better versions of themselves. I think that's a really amazing part of what Endeavor's doing.
All right, that's a nice note to end on. Alan Taylor, managing partner of Endeavor Catalyst. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for being here.